Good morning to you. Good morning to you. What's going on? Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube, coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I appreciate you guys joining me today. Call line is open, 205-850-1994. Clipping off this other microphone. I have microphones everywhere. Let me know how you're doing inside the comment box. Alabama and LSU next weekend. This is an open week for Alabama. Crimson Tide now 7-1 on the season, 5-0 in SEC play. And next up, you got the LSU Tigers. I was doing a show this morning talking about Alabama and LSU, kind of previewing that game a little bit. And while I wait for you guys to call in at 205-850-1994, let's look at the LSU Tigers as they are, man, that offense is something else for the LSU Tigers. I'm going to put this full screen and kind of look at the LSU Tigers a little bit out. So as you can see, their schedule, they opened up with a loss against Florida State, and that was 45-24, and that's a marquee win for the Seminoles. And we're going to talk about the ACC during this show. I want to get your take on Florida State, and if you think any of those teams from the ACC or the Pac-12 are better than Alabama. Honestly, I want you to call in and talk to me about that today. They beat Grambling by a score of 72-10. And one thing, the common thing that you see in LSU's schedule is they can put up points. After that Florida State game, I mean, they've been putting up a ton of points, and a big reason why is because of the quarterback, Jaden Daniels, one of the best in all of college football. Beat up on Mississippi State 41-14, then beat up on Arkansas 34-31, and then went to Ole Miss, and that was a shootout with Lane Kiffin, and they lost that one 55-49. Beat Missouri 49-39, and then beat Auburn 48-18. This past weekend, they were able to defeat Army 62-0. So as you can see, they score a ton of points. One of the common denominators when you look at the statistics of LSU is this young man right here at the top left. That is Jaden Daniels, 2,500 yards on the season. And again, the call-in line is open. It's at the bottom of your screen, 205-850-1994. If you want to call in this morning, talk to me about Alabama, LSU. I'd love to get your feedback. Jaden Daniels, 2,500 yards on the season, 163 completions, 2,500 yards, 73.1 percentage, averaging 11.5 per throw. His longest is 86 this season. He has 25 touchdowns, and he has just 3 interceptions. So when you look at quarterbacks in the world of college football, Jaden Daniels is a guy that you want on your NFL team going forward. Neighbors up top is his key target. He has 981 yards. Logan Diggs has 611 rushing yards. So this team, they can run the football. Diggs is a good running back, absolutely, but their wide receivers, I think, are certainly elite. When you look to Neighbors, who has 981 yards, I think Brian Thomas Jr., who Alabama certainly wanted to land, has 732 yards receiving. And then after that, it's Lacey and Taylor. As you can see, Aaron Anderson does have 12 receptions for 60 yards. I was talking to the guys today that were talking that cover LSU, and we were talking, and they were saying that they hope that Aaron Anderson is able to make a play against Alabama. Man, wouldn't that be something? Aaron Anderson, I felt when Nick Saban was talking about kind of the transfers that left, I think that Aaron Anderson was probably one of the ones that I felt he probably wanted to stay. With that said, the wide receivers have been fine, and they've picked up without him. But when you look at the transfers, I felt maybe Drew Sanders was one of those ones that did get away. Or one of those guys that was like, why are you leaving? I think Aaron Anderson was one of those as well, because he had an injury. I mean, he didn't even get to play over here. So that was kind of the reason, that you kind of think about who was Nick Saban talking about when he mentioned, the transfers. Here's what we're talking about today. When you guys call in, you make the call. Key to beating LSU. What is that? Or the keys, if you want to. If there's a couple of different points to beating LSU. And clearly, when we just looked at LSU and what they present from an offensive standpoint, you got to be able to stop Jaden Daniels. You got to be able to go up against their elite wide receivers. Now, Alabama's defense has done that, and we want to talk about Kevin Steele's defense, and everything that they have added this year has been fantastic. I mean, and I was talking about this earlier today when I was on the show with LSU, is I like so much of Alabama's defense. As you saw in my game ball videos, I gave a game ball to pretty much everybody on the defensive side of the ball. And I like the fact that Alabama's defense, most importantly, is complete, right? You want to start in the defensive trenches? Fine, let's do it. Tim Smith, Tim Keenan, Jaheim Otis, Justin Ebogbe. All those guys have been playing really good. Justin Ebogbe is probably not getting enough credit. I mean, we've been hyping up Tim Keenan, and rightfully so. But Justin Ebogbe is right there as well. I mean, I think he has almost 40 tackles this year, which is pretty amazing. And he's played almost, 50 games, or he's played more than 50 games. I think it's second most after Will Reichard. Then you go to the linebackers. And I have pictured right here Jahad Campbell. Jahad Campbell is not a starter, but he is a starter. I mean, when he's started the 2 games against Mississippi State and, against Tennessee, the guy completely balls out. He plays at such a high level. Inside linebacker position for Alabama is great. Deontay Lawson, Trezor Marshall, Jahad Campbell. The more inside linebackers that are quality, the better. Calling line is open 205-850-1994. Outside linebackers, Dallas Turner, Chris Broswell. Those guys, I mean, come on. Those guys are great. And then behind them is you have Q Rob. Q Rob has been playing fantastic. Lengthy, athletic. You see him on special teams, making plays. What's up, guys? I see you in the comment box. Thanks for being with us this morning. I see you, Jeff. Thank you very much. And then the secondary. Pick your poison. You want to throw the Kool-Aid or you want to throw the Terrion Arnold? You want to throw against the slot against Malachi Moore? He's been doing a great job as well. So I think when we look to key to beating LSU or keys to beating LSU, those corners have to have a really big game. They're going to be challenged. They have to go win those 50-50 balls. They have to bat them down or come down with interceptions. Jayden Daniels, as you saw, has an average of 11 yards per throw. The thing that I like about Tennessee's offense was how much they spread the field. And they have the quarterback to do it. Good morning, Mike. I see you inside the comment box. And they have the quarterback to do it. Joe Milton was able to get the ball to his wide receivers with his laser sharp throws, and then you have your corners on islands, right? I mean, it's a tough offense to deal with. And the corners for Alabama were challenged. And the great thing about Alabama's defense, again, you sub out Terrion Arnold. Well, here comes Trey Amos. He's done a great job. So think about all the pieces that have come off the bench that have played a great role on the defensive side. I guess you could say Tim Smith, Jameer Lathan, like those guys come off. You have Q Rob, who comes off, who's been doing great. Inside linebacker Jahad Campbell has been doing great. Trey Amos has been solid. Blizz, I see you inside the comment box. Jalen Key has been solid. He's obviously a starter, along with Caleb Downs. Those guys are the safeties who have been doing great. So it's a complete defense. That's why I wanted to talk about Kevin Steele's defense today. And the thing is, too, when we were talking about this yesterday, is the difference between Pete Golding and Kevin Steele and Alabama's defense this year. And the thing that I love is Alabama is able to make such great second half adjustments. They've done that all year, right? I mean, I think the game against Texas got away from them, but they were able to get back into the game. In fact, they took back the lead against Texas. Against Ole Miss, they made great defensive adjustments. What was this? The same theme was from Lane Kiffin and Josh Heupel in the post-game press conference. Is the fact that they got outplayed by Alabama in the second half. Alabama's had a nice schedule. They've played a tough schedule, 100%, but they've had the key games in Bryant-Denny Stadium: Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee. This upcoming game with LSU. Those games, especially how young the offense is this year, it's so important to have those games at home this year, right? It was a challenging environment for Alabama to go to Texas A&M. No matter what was going on with Texas A&M, that was going to be a difficult game. Alabama's remaining games on the road through the regular season, going to Kentucky, and you're going to play at Jordan-Hare Stadium against Auburn. And as we've talked about, it doesn't matter what the case is with Hugh Freeze or with Auburn or whatever. I mean, you have to be able to play well on the road. Playing on the road is tough in the SEC, regardless. Georgia and Florida. I want to talk about that game today. They're playing this weekend, and I'm curious to get your take on that game. Do you think that there is Blizz, what's up, man? I appreciate the super chat. Roll Tide, I've only known you for about a month or two now, and I love this show. Yeah, man, I appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here, and I like the avatar, man. It's almost that time to throw on the Santa beanie for sure. And we'll let that super chat stick up there for a minute. Super chat goal daily is $100. So super chats is definitely appreciated. Remember, this is what I do for a full-time basis. You have your full-time job. This is mine. We're all putting food on the table. And, mine is covering the Alabama Crimson Tide, which I'm so blessed to do, living in beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Georgia and Florida playing. Game is in Gainesville, going to the Swamp without Brock Bowers. I think it's a good opportunity to see how Georgia can play on the road in a very tough environment. I think Georgia's schedule has been very light. I think Michigan's schedule has been very light. This will be a challenging test for Kirby Smart and the rest of the crew. Carson Beck, I've watched him a couple times. I think he's been doing a fine job, to be honest. And, of course, Georgia has a lot of weapons. They're going into that game favored to beat Florida, and rightfully so. But I think Billy Napier has a little bit of momentum, and it's been kind of tough sledding for him to get going. Look, you could think that it would be easier to win at Florida, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate the comments. But it hasn't really turned out that well. It hasn't been so easy to win in Florida, right? Hasn't been as even you look at what's going on in Miami. I know Mario Cristobal, he's kind of been up and down. You would think it'd be easier to go into those type of programs and be able to come up with more dubs than they've had in the past. Same thing with Texas A&M. It's been a difficult place for Jimbo to win. You just can't go to another program and just start winning collectively. That's why, and we're going to talk today about the ACC. I want to get your take on Florida State, a team I've kind of been picking on a little bit. I have their schedule brought up, and that was a team that did beat LSU. And, they did in the first game of the season, and they played a really good game against LSU and were able to come out with the dub. However, when I look at their schedule, there was a couple games where they've been behind, but they could point their finger right back at Alabama and be like, look, Bama was tied with South Florida 3-3. They were trailing Ole Miss at halftime. They were trailing Texas at halftime. They were trailing Tennessee at halftime. So, but I just think collectively, if Alabama and Florida State are to play right now, I'm taking Alabama all the way. And that's not being fancy. I just think Alabama's defense is better than Florida State's offense. The other teams I want to ask you guys about is the Pac-12. You have Washington and Oregon, which are each ranked above the Crimson Tide. Oregon. How about this game this weekend? Oregon and Utah. Yo, that Utah defense, man. I think Utah's going to beat Oregon. Do you guys? Bo Nix and company going to play against Utah. Utah has had a stout defense the last 2 or 3 years. To be honest, I think that they've had the same defensive coordinator, but they've been doing that team is also built off defense 100%. All right, look, I was messing around with call line is open, by the way. 205-850-1994. Plenty of room since there's 4 call lines. If you guys ever messed around with the All-State Playoff Indicator on ESPN's website. So if you go to ESPN and you click rankings, you can find the playoff predictor. And it's an All-State Playoff Predictor. And here's what it is as of today. I'll put that full screen right now. And one of the things that stands out to me is, let me get that screen back. Where did it go? Is the fact that you can click on each team and it generates a scenario based off the teams who they're playing. So let me put that full screen again. So Ohio State has a 70, and this is as of today, going into this weekend, has a 74% chance to make the playoffs. Oklahoma, 63%, Florida State, 59%, Michigan, 46%, Georgia, 31%, Alabama, 30%, Texas, 25%. So when you look to each of these teams' schedule, right, let's start with Ohio State. Ohio State, we know, and you can click on the teams and they'll give you the scenarios based off if they win out or if they, were to drop a game or whatever. So I clicked on Alabama and I punched out win out and win the SEC championship, and I'll show you that graphic in a second. And if Alabama wins out and they were able to beat Georgia, and Georgia is undefeated, Alabama has a 94% chance to make the playoffs. We all know that, right? Win and you're in. when you look to Ohio State, they still have to play Michigan, and then they have to play in the Big Ten championship. You have Oklahoma, who, I mean, I think Oklahoma will probably lose at some point in the season. I'll bring up their schedule in just a second, but they're going to have to play Texas in the Big 12 championship, right? So if you're an Alabama fan, I guess you would want for, Texas you would want for Oklahoma to lose right now, like to somebody in the regular season, and then for Texas to win and for Bama to win out, right? And you would want Oklahoma to be the Big 12 championship by losing. So that, like, those scenarios get kind of interesting when you kind of start pairing stuff out, because I think Oklahoma, they have such a great shot to get in. So let's just say that those two teams probably in, especially if Oklahoma is able to win. Now, Florida State, this is where it gets kind of interesting, right? Because Florida State, when you look at their schedule, let's actually bring up their schedule right now. And we got a caller on the line. Bring that up in just a second, get to you. But let's look at Florida State's schedule, okay? So here's Florida State's remaining schedule. Let's just bring it full screen. So Florida State right now is undefeated. And I'll zoom in a little bit more. They're able to beat LSU in that first game, 45-24. Then they beat Southern Miss 66-13. They went to Boston College in a game that was very tight. Should have lost that game. They come out on top 31-29. Then went to Clemson, and the kicker, it was 24-24 in the final seconds of the game, and the Clemson field goal kicker went wide left, and he missed the kick and goes into overtime, and Florida State makes this ridiculous catch in the end zone, and they win that game 31-24. They beat up on Virginia Tech. They beat up on Syracuse, and then they had to come from behind to beat Duke, and they won that game 38-20. So remaining games for Florida State include a trip to Wake Forest this coming weekend. Then they travel to Pitt after that, so 2 road games, before they take on Miami, which will be a challenging game in November. And then they have North Alabama. That's one of those games. Like, Alabama has Chattanooga. Florida State has North Alabama, which is crazy. And then you go on the road to play Florida in that rivalry game. So there's a look at Florida State's schedule. I mean, and then they have to play in the SEC championship, probably against North Carolina. So that should be a pretty good game. With that said, let's go to our first caller, and we'll start right now. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is Ronnie from Opelika.
Hey, what's up, Ronnie? I appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome to the show. Take it away.
Kyle, what can we do to get Alabama to play the third quarter 4 different times? Could we just declare there's no longer first quarter, second quarter, or fourth quarter? And the beginning quarter is the third quarter, the next quarter is the third quarter, the third quarter is the third quarter, and the fourth quarter is the third quarter.
Yeah.
One option, or let's get Nick Saban to give his halftime speech before the game. He already knows what they're going to do for the first and second quarter. Go ahead and light them up.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and let them come out with their hair on fire in the beginning quarter.
Yeah, they need to play the third quarter and the first quarter of the game. You need. I gave a game ball out this morning. You need Miss Terry to give the pregame speech. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Look, but truth be told, and let's go through these questions that I have posted for you. If you get behind LSU, and I was saying this morning on the show, you will lose that game. You are not there. You can't spot LSU 10 points. Jane Daniels, you can't spot him 10 points and expect to win that game. Like, you're not. I mean, they had to give it everything that they had. They played a solid 2 quarters against Tennessee, able to come back. But it's going to require 4 quarters to beat LSU. This is a good LSU team. That offense is really good. I think they're going to present challenges for even Alabama's offense. They're scoring, 40 points or whatever per game. Good thing it is at Bryant-Denny, and I think the fans will be inspired again. But when you look to keys to this game, is it as simple as, stopping Jaden Daniels? Is there another, key or keys to the game when you're looking at this LSU game here in 2 weeks?
We have to get off to a good start. We can't do what we've been doing the first quarter. We averaged like 1.8 points first quarter.
Yeah.
2 points for the first quarter during the season.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it. It's going to make it tough, even though I think because Alabama has really been playing against Ole Miss, Texas A&M,
Mm-hmm.
and Tennessee. They've been playing one elite half.
Yep.
And that's enough to beat them. And we should have beat also Texas A&M by 2 touchdowns, except for a penalty on the blocked field goal.
Mm-hmm.
But one half has been good enough so far.
Really one quarter.
Like
really one quarter because they played. I mean, that third quarter was great. And they finished out strong, I guess, in the fourth quarter. But against Ole Miss, maybe they played one good quarter, and against Arkansas, they just played one. They just played well in the second quarter. That one quarter was needed to beat Arkansas. Yep. So it's like you. But I think the keys to the game, like you said, you cannot start slow. And we were talking about this yesterday. It seems like it takes Alabama's offense at least 4 drives before they put points on the board.
Yeah. Saban just needs to go ahead and rip them from the beginning, and see what happens. Need to get a fast start.
What do you think about this defense overall? I mean, Kevin Steele, kind of a name we really haven't talked about. We've talked about kind of just the defense, but have you seen a drastic improvement? Do you think, honestly, that he has a lot to do with it? Or do you think it's kind of, the Jimmies and the Joes that just Alabama has? Or do you think it's X's and O's and Jimmies and Joes kind of combined and Kevin Steele having a great effect on this defense? Because it seems worlds different than the last 2 seasons.
It is different. They've been soft for the last couple of years up front. This defensive line looks much better than it looks last year. Why? It has to be Kevin Steele.
Mm-hmm.
Instilling toughness into him. If the defensive coordinator is soft, the defense is going to be soft.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently, he's not a soft coach.
He's not. In fact, he always looks pissed off. I walked by him the other day at the media center going to one of these Saban things, and he looked mad. But that's fine. That is how you want your defensive coach to be. I'm sure he's approachable for his players, and, there's a lot of stuff that we probably don't see, but, he looks mad.
And the defense plays okay. Now, they played 3 elite quarters, first, second, and third quarter against Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Against Ole Miss, they really played 2 elite quarters, third and fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Against Texas A&M, they gave up 17 points in the first half and 3 points in the second half. So that was 2 elite quarters against Texas A&M, and they completely shut out Tennessee in the second half after giving up 20 in the first half. 2 elite quarters.
Who are you taking in this Georgia and Florida game? You think Georgia's able to scrape it out in Gainesville? Upset? You taking the upset?
Upset Florida.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably picking that upset, right? Look, this isn't the Georgia team that they've been in the past, right? The last 2 seasons, those 2 teams, they were going to be tough to deal with for anybody. But this year's team seems, I don't know. It seems like other teams in college football can get the best of them, especially now without Brock Bowers. So you're taking Florida in the upset pick. That's your upset pick of the week. How about Utah over Oregon? You taking that one too?
Yes, Utah. The thing about Georgia, if they had that offensive coordinator they had,
mm-hmm.
He made a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
He made a big difference. He was tough. I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah. And I think ever since Georgia has transformed their offense, they've made a step forward because they used to be kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, kind of like Alabama's old offense. But ever since they're now kind of modeled their offense after Alabama and the more balanced approach, they have elite wide receivers and elite tight end. They've won national titles. They're at the top of the college football mountain. Okay, when you look at Alabama's schedule thus far, which is Alabama's best win this season? Best win on the resume. Best game that they played.
Best, I would say Tennessee.
Right? Yeah. I think that's what everybody's going to say today. I think so. I mean, Tennessee was a good team. They were ranked. Games at home, I know, but I mean, 27-0 in the second half. That's kind of what I'm going with. And I was thinking about that today. I was like, what is their best win? You think? I mean, is it better than their win against Texas A&M on the road? Is it better than their win against Ole Miss at home? It's got to be.
I think so, because Tennessee, they have a great offensive mind in Heupel. That game plan he came out with in the first half,
yeah,
it was right on point.
Hell yeah.
It's not a short passes. They were completing them.
Mm-hmm.
Throw an intermediate one, completed touchdown, 2-finger catch. But he had everything going in the first half. But the defense stiffened when he got in the red zone. When they got in the red zone, our defense, and that was the key to the game. Not giving up touchdowns, giving up field goals.
All right, so my last question for you. Is Bama better than the teams in the Pac-12 in the ACC? That includes Washington and Florida. In fact, let's look at Washington's schedule real quick before you answer. I was looking over their schedule so far, and I know they got the marquee win over Oregon. That was a good win. I watched that game. Who didn't? It was a great game of college football. I do like their quarterback, what he presents. And here's Washington's schedule so far. They beat up on Boise State 56-19. Were able to beat Tulsa 43-10. At Michigan State, they were able to beat the Spartans by a score of 41-7. Beat up on Cal 59-32. Toe-to-toe with Arizona 31-24. They were open. Then they took on Oregon and beat Oregon 36-33. And then this last week, they had to come from behind. They were actually trailing that game for most of the way, 7-0. Came from behind, were able to beat Arizona State 15-7. Do you think Alabama, when you look collectively, is better than a Washington, an Oregon maybe, or even a Florida State, North Carolina? What's your take on that?
Before this past weekend, I would question it. I would be maybe 50-50, but after seeing the third quarter, how they smashed Tennessee, Alabama's better than Oregon and Washington. They're better than Florida State. They're better than Georgia and Michigan.
And that's the thing is, like, I have go ahead, Ron.
If they can dominate a whole half, second half against Texas A&M, second half against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss does have a good offense. Tennessee has a pretty good offense, and they dominate the second half against Tennessee. They can do it for a whole game. And third option, bring in the shrink guy that they use, because if they did it in the third quarter, they can do it in the first.
I think so too. I mean, it comes down to putting those 4 quarters of play. I mean, if they do that, honestly, they're better than Georgia in my opinion too. And I do forget that it's the world's biggest cocktail or whatever that they're playing that game in Jacksonville, not at the Swamp. I think I said that earlier in the show, so my apologies. All right, man, I got to move to my next caller, but I appreciate you starting off the show. Thanks again, and please call again, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you.
All right, man, roll tide to you. All right, we got a 786 we'll get to in just a second. My name's Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Is this the early line? What's up, Ty? I appreciate you. Bama, he has a spread as Bama 4.5. I haven't even looked at the lines yet, but is that is that official, Ty? I appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you so much. Mike Gundy, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box as well. Bama is def better than Washington after watching them this past week. I appreciate you stepping away from your Oklahoma State responsibilities to come join the call-in show. Jasper, what's up, man? We'll get to my next call in just a second. Tell Milroe to trust his legs and arms. And 2, best by far. 3, Georgia. I think that a lot of people, what's the line on the Georgia-Florida score? Can we get that as well, Ty? Appreciate it. Let's go back to the phone lines, and we'll start right now. 786, let's do it. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
What's going on, Kyle? It's Chad from Miami.
What's up, Chad? I appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, man. The game was actually great on Saturday. I was kind of pissed off in the first half because they were making too many mistakes. Besides the penalties or whatever, they cut down on penalties or whatever. But I believe, like the last caller was saying, man, Saban need to give that speech in the beginning of the game instead of wait till the first half. I believe Saban's probably going to be the coach of the year for the work he's putting in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's worked as hard since I believe that was 2009 when he felt somewhat disrespected by Florida when they won in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And he put together that first national championship team. So there's some things that still have to clean up, especially going against LSU. Their defense is trash, but their offense is spectacular. So I think our defense is going to be challenged. I hope Terrion can play. He had a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the D-line need to get some pressure on their offensive line. I think their offensive line is decent, but we just got to play better overall. But there were some issues that we did face in the game versus Tennessee that I think we have to clean up.
What would you like to see cleaned up before we get to the questions?
We still had snap issues from the center, Steph McLaughlin. A lot of people weren't talking about that, but there were a few bad snaps. Milroe had bad ball placement in a few throws.
Mm-hmm.
He was thrown either over the head of the receivers or behind them. If he would have threw the ball in front of them, they were able to continue their route. It would have been an easier catch. So there were a few drops because of that. He wasn't aware of a lot of the easy check down or slant routes he could pass the ball into.
Mm-hmm.
And then the offensive line, a couple of the sacks were his fault because he didn't step up in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And then special teams, Kool-Aid, he shouldn't be back there anymore because I guess in the first few games he muffed a few punts, and one of those punts it was a turnover, so he's been letting the ball flop, and then it rolls back extra 10 to 15 yards, putting the offense in a bad position when they can have good field position.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main person that people aren't talking about is Malik Benson. His body language has been terrible because he hasn't been getting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention. I played high school football. I wasn't great, but I was a walk-on at USF. I was somewhat decent. Decent, and then a lot of my teammates went on to play high major college football like West Virginia, Ohio State, USF, so on and so forth. So I know football, but Saban likes his receivers blocking. He did not block at all in a bunch of plays, so that's why a lot of the run plays got cut short because his defender he should have been blocking was able to push him out of the way and cut down our running backs. That happened at least 3 times during that game that nobody was paying attention to because he wasn't engaged in the game because he wasn't getting the ball.
Mm-hmm. You know what I noticed? I've noticed kind of some body language stuff as well. There was a touchdown catch by Jermaine Burton. And I think there was some other receivers on that particular play that didn't come up to congratulate Burton because it looked like they were pissed off because they wanted the ball instead. I'm serious. I saw it. So it's interesting that you would bring that up because it's something that I hadn't mentioned until you mentioned this as well. I mean, look, there's a lot of mouths to feed, but yeah, I've noticed that some as well. And the thing about that I felt was so great about kind of those rideouts like Devontae Smith, when Henry Ruggs was here, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle. One of the things that those guys did, and remember they say rock, paper, scissors to whoever would catch a touchdown?
Yeah.
But it wasn't even about their abilities to bring in the football, to beat you deep, to beat you on RPOs, whatever. It was the fact that those guys were not selfish in the fact that they would stock block down the field. So many runs were broken. and went down. And guess who was down there? 155-pound Smitty. He was like down the field, or if it was like Henry Ruggs who had broke something like that, it was Devontae Smith was fighting with, he was, chicken fighting with his, corner down the field. 100%. Go back and watch the game film. That always stood out to me.
Sure. I think that falls on the offensive coordinator to get him engaged in the game, and then also our quarterback to find those open guys. And then one issue in the defense that I want to point out is for some reason when we go to the nickel package, I saw this a lot during the Saturday game. We would take a edge rusher out and leave a defensive lineman in, or if not, we will have a edge rusher go out to cover a slot receiver. That's how Braswell got beat. A lot of people didn't realize that. Instead of us, we should always leave the edge rushers in the game because they're more talented than our defensive linemen. So why would we take an edge rusher out the game and leave a defensive lineman in, or let an edge rusher go and cover a slot or a tight end or whatever? That's the easy way for them to get beat because that's not what they primarily do. And that's how Braswell got beat. When we should have two edge rushers in the game all the time, always attacking the quarterback. We can always substitute one of our defensive linemen for an edge rusher. So that's one other issue I believe that we should be fixing. But I've been seeing it like at least almost every game where we have one edge rusher and three defensive linemen in, when we need to take one defensive lineman out and leave both edge rushers in to continually apply pressure on the opposing quarterback.
All right, let's talk these 5 questions that I got posted. So, key to beating LSU or keys to beating LSU, what you got?
Offense, cut down on the mistakes. And then the other thing is to run the ball. Unfortunately, Milroe, he's an okay quarterback. He's not the greatest quarterback in the world. I understand it's his first year starting, so there's a lot of things he still need to work on, but we have to run the ball to help him out. There's no other way around it. Even if it's not working, we have to run the ball. And defense just has to be consistent and don't give up any good plays.
All right, let's give some appreciation to Kevin Steele. Tell me your thoughts about Alabama's defense. I already said in the opening, I feel it's complete. That's why I liked Alabama's defense, from the defensive line to the secondary. But have you seen an entire change since Pete Golding's left to this defense, or is it more just about that Alabama just has better players this year?
I think we've always had a talent. We just didn't have the coach.
Yeah.
So I speak to a lot of older people. I've always been around a lot of older people my whole life. I never really hung out with a lot of people my age unless I was at school. So they said fear is either fear comes from respect or admiration, or a combination of both. I don't think none of our players on defense fear Pete Golding at all, because he seemed like a nice person. So I think a lot of the players fear Kevin Steele, and then also Nick Saban. He stopped being nice to the players. I understand him like being nice behind closed doors and so on and so forth, but I like that he's not afraid to yell at them, because I used to see it all the time back in 2016, 17, 18. He didn't care about the players' feelings. I think the reason why he's kind of like cut down on this is because of NIL, and a lot of players are like, oh, I want to go to a nice coach. Look at Peter Woods that went to Clemson. He went to Clemson because he said, oh, Dabo Swinney relates to the players and so on and so forth, and he's nice and this and that. Look at Clemson; they already lost 3 games this year.
Yeah, I think
so. I like the way Saban and Steele is running the show now, pretty much.
Yeah, and you know what, Coach Saban, there's something going on with Saban, not in a bad way, but he mentioned this, and I've been thinking about this for a while. Every single week, and I'm sure he's done this for a while now, he speaks with a sports psychologist and a psychologist to develop a message for the team. And these messages are crafted based on the identity of the team. And I think, honestly, and if you've been around sports, I'm sure everybody has, it's watching the show, watches football, every team has a different identity. And I think the teams who are more established, you can coach them hard, like Terran Arnold, right? Like he said that message about coaching. Coach Saban understands his level, like how hard he can push him. But these guys are a lot younger. And I think, too, Coach players probably and parents want to go to like somebody who's coachable, and sometimes maybe they might not know Coach Saban because he is he's a player's coach, 100%. People like to be around him, but they might see him as being like mean. That's not necessarily the case. I think he's a disciplinarian. I think he runs the ship as a leader should. But I think something is going beyond kind of the scenes because his attitude and kind of the way that he's working on himself has been a lot different this year. Okay, Georgia, Florida, playing in the world's biggest cocktail down in Jacksonville. I think Ty said in the comment box that Georgia's favored by 14.5. Seems like a lot of points. What's your take in that one?
I think Florida is going to put up a decent fight, but I'm more thinking Georgia should be worried about like Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. They're going to put up a better fight because I think Alabama. If Alabama get past LSU, we have the easiest schedule left besides Ohio State. Like a lot of the teams that are ranked ahead of us, they're just getting into meat of their schedule now, while Alabama already played ours. But Georgia's just getting into meat of their schedule. I think, like I said, Florida's going to put up a decent fight, but I think more often Georgia has to worry about Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee coming up. And then also, I'm not sure if you because I called it yesterday, but I guess it was towards the end of the show. Texas might also be in trouble because Quinn Ewers might be out for a few weeks.
Yeah, I saw that.
With AC sprain in his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So they might also lose another game.
Yeah, that would be great for Bama. It'd be great if they lost another game and I guess came back and won the Big 12. That's how you get in. Is if because you can't have 2 losses and then win the conference championship. Not in my opinion. And if Alabama was able to win out, that's kind of the scenario that you want to hope for. So yeah, I don't know. On with Chad from Miami. Hey, fam, you can become a fan funder of this YouTube channel. Really easy to do. Look for the join button on the homepage of this YouTube channel or inside on your mobile screen where it says join. Options as low as $2.99 for a month to become a fan funder of this YouTube channel, and I really appreciate it. Super chats also really appreciated, as well as just a simple thumbs up. So hit the thumbs up button on this video. I really appreciate you guys being here. All right, Chad, best Bama win so far this season. Is it as easy as saying that the win against Tennessee is kind of their staple win, or do you think it's against Ole Miss on the road at Texas A&M? What you got?
So far, I think it's a Tennessee win because it was penalty free. I think we had 1 penalty, which was for like 5 yards, and they pretty much kind of Saban got them under the focus in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss was kind of I mean that was kind of a gimme. So I don't think that was really a challenging game. They somewhat put up a fight in the first half, but they kind of got blown out in the second half. But I think the best win so far is Tennessee, also because it was a revenge game from last year.
Yeah, I do too. And you look at kind of that second half of play against a ranked team, and look. Tennessee has gotten a lot better under Josh Heupel for sure. I know he's pissed off, and everyone's pointing kind of to his post-game press conference, but he's doing a better job with Tennessee than Jeremy Pruitt did with Tennessee. 100%. I mean, that Tennessee team is good. Those wide receivers are good. That quarterback is good. Last year's quarterback was good. Last year's wide receivers, they were good. That's a tough team. They're really, and I think Georgia going on the road to Tennessee, Georgia fans got to be ready for that one because that's a good Tennessee team, 100%. A lot better than I thought they were going to be. Holy cow. Okay. Bama versus the Pac-12 ACC. I've been poking at Florida State, but what do you think about Oregon being ahead of Bama, Washington? I think those are fine teams. I think they're good, top 10, top 15 type teams. But I don't know. Utah and Oregon play this weekend. I like Utah in that game. That defense is really good. And Washington, look, their quarterback's great, and I think they have a really good season going. But, I mean, I think I'm taking Bama over both those teams and over any of the teams from the ACC all day. What about you?
Like I said before when I called in, I think everybody in the ACC are pretenders, man.
Yeah.
I don't believe Florida State is any real competition. They have a great offense, but their defense is trash. And then most of the time, they're letting average teams come back, and it's a shootout in the third or fourth quarter. And then I believe they have Florida and coming up, and I think those are going to be challenging games to them. So I don't think the ACC is going to make it in the last 4 teams at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pac-12, like I told you, a lot of these teams are only just starting to meet their schedule, and USC's gone, obviously. Oregon, they're going to be playing Utah, and I also think Washington is going to be playing a lot more tougher teams now coming up on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they might be Oregon. They already played Oregon. I think they're going to be playing Utah, Oregon State, and USC. So we're going to really find out who they are, because they struggled against a low-level Arizona State team that I think their offense only put up 7 points, and their defense put up the rest. So we're going to find out who they really are, man. I think at the end it's going to come down to the Big Ten and SEC. Though I think those 2 conferences are going to at least occupy 3 of those 4 spots, and I think the SEC might only get 1 team, and I think the Big Ten might get 2 this year. SEC might only get 1 because Georgia has been playing a cake schedule.
Yeah, I mean that, and same for Michigan. I mean, Michigan's schedule really doesn't start until November, where they got both Penn State and Ohio State. And when you look at the Big Ten rankings, I'll get to my next caller in just a second. I want to bring up the Big Ten rankings to highlight this specific note, because the fact of the matter is that Michigan and Ohio State are on that same side. So let's see, I want to drop down. Oh, here we go. So you got Michigan, and you guys see that? Okay, I'll make it full screen. So Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State, all those teams are on the East. So the East is completely loaded. So one of those teams could just drop one game, like Michigan, for example. Michigan could lose to Ohio State and not make the Big Ten championship, but still make the college football playoff, just as Alabama did several seasons ago, where they lost to Auburn but were able to win because they just had 1 loss and they were one of the best of the rest. And Michigan has the style points. I think, honestly, I would say that Ohio State is the better team than Michigan right now. That's my take. So I think I could totally see Ohio State, and I think they are playing Wisconsin. So you look at the West, I mean, there's nothing in the West from the Big Ten at all. So, yeah, I could definitely see 2 teams occupying the playoffs from the West, 100%. Good point out there. All right, Chad, I got to move to my next caller, man, but I appreciate you calling in this morning, and please call again next time.
All right, man, I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too, man. Take it easy. All right, that was Chad calling in from Miami. We got an 832 and a 334 inside the comment box. Let's do 832. Let's get it. Hey, thank you very much for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is Mike from Austin, Texas.
Hey, what's up, Mike? We're doing the morning show now. I was thinking about it, and I was like, I have, like, the way that my schedule works is I'm usually busy. I'm a morning person. This morning I work out at 5 a.m. And I work out with a group of guys here in Tuscaloosa. It's like military boot camp style. Today we're at downtown Tuscaloosa, and we got after it. It's phenomenal. But I'm a morning person. I like it. I like the camaraderie. And then I was looking at 9 a.m. and I was like, I think I could do a daily 9 a.m. show, and I should try it during the week and just kind of see the feedback and get some callers. So I appreciate you, because I know you usually call in on our evening shows, which I'm still going to do. I'm still going to have my Wednesday and my Sunday night show. But I just kind of want to test the waters on the morning show. So I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Kyle. Thank you, too. I like seeing your live shows as much as possible. And the reason why I like hearing what you got to say, but other Bama fans, too. You have other really good, knowledgeable fans call in to give insight on the season and on the team and stuff like that. So I like seeing as much as possible. And you're right. Just test the waters. If it works out, fine. If not, then you can concentrate more on the evening shows. But I like seeing you. But, hey, man, this season overall, the way I see it is I don't like saying things are rigged or whatever, and things, in the college football. But the way this season's set up, it looks like the Big Ten's going to get 2 teams in there no matter what. I mean, for some reason, the national media, whoever, thinks Ohio State and Michigan walk on water, and one team can lose to the other, just like last year, and they'll both still be in there. So I think no matter what, the way the season's playing out, and one of them teams are going to have a loss. One of them two teams are going to be in the playoffs. And with that being, Michigan, Ohio State's going to be in the playoffs no matter what. And with that being said, it's going to be real hard for Bama to get into the playoffs. It's going to be real hard for them. And the reason why is because they're a one-loss team, but as far as the AP polling, they're the third-ranked one-loss team there is. I think these other, like Oregon, may be ranked higher, and Texas is ranked higher, and I understand that. So it's going to be real hard for Bama to get to the playoffs, in my opinion, just because of that loss to Texas. And honestly, man, what I perceive to be Bama fatigue. I mean, Bama's own college football these past 10 or 15 years, the population center of the country, the media center of the country up north in the Midwest and California, they just want to see some of these other big market teams get in there. So that's going to be really hard for Bama to make the playoffs. And the only way, in my opinion, they do it, the only way Bama makes the playoffs is if they win out, and if Georgia wins out, and they beat an undefeated number one Georgia team in the championship, SEC championship game, then Alabama may have an argument to get in there, or definitely will have an argument to get in there. But if Bama doesn't beat Georgia, of course they're out. But even if Georgia loses, if Bama beats a one-loss Georgia team, well then that may not be enough ammo for them to get in. So, but I see but the way they've been treating these Big Ten teams for no reason, Michigan just simply doesn't play anybody. I mean, Ohio State, okay, they played 2 tough games and won them. Okay, yeah, I won't take that away from them. But Michigan, they simply ain't played nobody, and all they got to do is beat Ohio State their one game of the year, and they got their place reserved in the playoffs. Or lose to Ohio State maybe, and they're still in the playoffs. But this is going to be really hard. Like I said, the way it's set up right now, it's going to be really hard for Bama to get in my opinion.
Yeah, I posted this graphic and I have it up right now. This is the All-State ESPN playoff predictor as of today, and it's pretty cool because you can plug in different scenarios. So as of today, they have Ohio State 74%, Michigan at 46%, Oklahoma at 63%, and Florida State at 59%, Georgia 31%, Alabama at 30%. And of course, like, you can pick the different teams and look at the different scenarios. But I think, as Chad pointed out, I think with Michigan and Ohio State both being on the west of the Big Ten, I think it favors those two teams getting in. And then it comes down to what happens in the Big 12, and it happens to see if Florida State can sustain that. Now, Florida State does play, somewhat of a tough back-end schedule. They play Miami, they play Florida, then they're going to have to play most likely North Carolina. Those are three difficult games that they have. Plus, things get squirrely for them sometimes. And same thing with Oklahoma. I don't think you can write any of these Big 12 teams in. Georgia still plays, at Tennessee. They play Florida. There's a lot that can go on, and Ohio State still has to play Michigan. So, and then, you're tracking the Pac-12 teams. They're almost, with that 24% of chance or whatever. I think, let's look at Washington's schedule, who they have left. Washington still has to play. They go to Stanford this coming weekend. Then they play at USC. They still play Utah. They play Oregon State, and they play Washington State. That's a tough back-end schedule for Washington's 100% going to lose one of those games. 100%. And Oregon's already lost. So the Pac-12, I don't think any teams are going to make it from there. Okay, let's play You Make the Call. We're on with Mike from Austin. Let me bring that graphic up. And keys to beating LSU. What you got, Mike? Keys when you looked at that LSU game taking place on November 4th?
Well, they got to shut down Jalen Daniels. That's the number one thing. They got to limit him, limit his scrambling, limit his overall play, because you know what it takes. I mean, these teams in the past 10 years that have beaten Bama, they've done it because the quarterback was a superstar for the day. That's how you beat Bama, is you have an outstanding quarterback play. So with that being said, in order for Alabama to beat LSU, they got to shut down Jalen Daniels, or just limit his big plays, limit him, big time. That's the key to beating LSU right there.
Yeah, and what's up, Danny? I see you inside the comment box. He said, if you're judging the level of success we'll have against LSU based on Tennessee, bro, you're sadly mistaken. This is a totally different animal. This is the number one offense in the country. Absolutely. And I think that they're going to be challenged by Alabama's great defense. That's what we're talking about, the defense today. And if the defense is able to be up to the task to go against Jaden Daniels, I mean, you look at the numbers, his efficiency rating is fantastic, 71% throwing the football, 2,300 yards, 25 touchdowns to 3 interception ratio. They have elite wide receivers. I think when you look at the 5 best wide receiving units in all of the country, LSU is right there. Thank goodness this game is at Bryant-Denny Stadium, 100%. This team is very talented. LSU, 100%. This will be their most challenging game since that Texas matchup, 100%. And Alabama's defense has to get pressure. Those corners are going to be tested. Caleb Downs is going to be tested in different scenarios. So, yeah, LSU, no joke for sure. What about this Kevin Stills defense while we're talking about defense, Mike? When you look to this defense and how it's transformed, I think we've talked about it before. It's worlds different than under Pete Golding. And the great thing about this team is the ability to go into the locker room, to make second half adjustments, and to come out and outplay Ole Miss, to come out and outplay Tennessee, because the defense, what they did against Tennessee and what they did against Ole Miss, I mean, those are such impressive halftime adjustments.
It is. The defense is night and day different than what they've been under Pete Golding. If you remember last year, the year before, it seems like Alabama's defense was constantly out of position. Mm-hmm. They were getting burned deep all the time. They were getting burned short. It's night and day. So Kevin Steele has done, I think, wonders with the defense. And honestly, like I know, defense has kind of carried the way so far and given the offense time to find who they are and find the rhythm a bit. But if not for this defense, Alabama would already have 1 or 2 losses, or 2 losses, I should say. But, yeah, it's night and day, because last year, as talented as the defense was, and the year before, they were constantly getting burned because of coaching and being out of position. So Nick Saban, being the great coach that he is, he did exactly what he needed to do, was replace the defensive coordinator, and that's what he did. And, yeah, the defense is playing a lot better. But honestly, Kyle, it's not the defense I'm worried about, man. Our defense is there, no doubt about it. It's Bama's offense that, because once again, we beat Tennessee, and that was a great victory, by the way. But Bama, again, did not even put up more than 400 yards, with a total 360 yards. Well, yeah, that's good offensive efficiency, absolutely. But Bama's offense has got to start putting up more yards. Now, I guess they're playing very efficient, and Jalen Milroe is definitely getting better. I mean, the Tennessee game proved how much better he's getting. But thank goodness that we got a good defense, and let the offense continue to gel and continue to get better, and our Bama's running game to find their way. But, yeah, man, the defense is you can tell the overall positioning of the defensive backfield is 100% better than it was last year. So I give Nick Saban and Kevin Steele and all the other defensive coaches 100% kudos on how good the defense is this year. So they're doing real good.
We got Georgia and Florida taking place this coming weekend. You got Utah and Oregon. I'm asking for picks on Georgia and Florida, but can you give me a pick on that one, and then also Oregon, Utah?
Yeah, I'd say Georgia beats Florida. I mean, Georgia's just a better team, and I know they've had that big injury on their tight end here last, but they've got other good tight ends behind that guy too. I mean, so they. I say Georgia's a better team. I say straight up they beat Florida. I don't know what's happened to Florida, man. You look at the coaches. They went through like 4 or 5 coaches in the past 10 years, and the best one they had was Dan Mullen. Yeah. And in my opinion, Kyle, they got rid of Dan Mullen because of politics, like COVID politics. That's my lame opinion. Why they got rid of Dan Mullen. But, like, I'm not taking a position on it, I'm just saying why they got rid of him. And because he was the best coach they had. They took Bama to the extreme of the championship game, and Dan Mullen, he won his bowl games. They won 10, 11 games for the most part, except for his last year, I believe, which is a COVID year. But in my opinion, man, straight up, there's no way that Florida beats Georgia. I mean, I guess they could, but I think there's about a good 80% chance Georgia wins that game. Another thing, like I talk about, just SEC bias and anti-SEC fatigue, and how in the world do these ranksters not have Georgia #1 team of the country? What else do you have to? And I'm not a Georgia fan. I'm just an outsider looking in. Mm-hmm. What else do you have to do except win every game on your schedule for 3 years straight now to be #1? How in the world? Because you look at the Sports Illustrated power rankings, #1, 2, and 3, and Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State with 1 loss. I mean, it's a complete joke. But all Georgia does is win, and some rankings have them as low as #2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatsoever. But they're a good team, man, and they got a good coaching as well, and apparently they got a good quarterback too. But yeah, I say there's no way Georgia loses to Florida. I mean, I guess there is a way, but I say it's rare. The only chance Florida has is that quarterback they have. I think he's that transfer in from Wisconsin. Mertz, I think his name is. Mm-hmm. He seems to play good every now and then. So if that guy has a good game, if that guy has a real good game, and if Florida can put up 30 points, they got a chance of winning. Other than that, I say Georgia beats them just because Georgia's the better team.
I'm looking at this Georgia schedule right now. So you got UT Martin. They're able to win that game 48-7. Then they took on Ball State, won that game 45-3. Then they took on South Carolina and they won that game 24-14. Then they played UAB, came out on top. Went to Auburn, had to come from behind to beat the Tigers, won 27-20. So, I mean, the best game that they have is, beating Kentucky, which they did handily, 51-13. But even Vanderbilt, I think Vanderbilt struck first on them. That was like the first time they scored in like 7 years or something like that in the first quarter on Georgia or something like that. But look at that schedule. Yeah, that schedule's light. That schedule's really light. So here's their back end schedule. They take on Florida. Then they go to Missouri. Then they play Missouri in Georgia. They take on Ole Miss. Then they go to Neyland Stadium, take on Tennessee, and then they end with Georgia Tech. And that's a very light schedule. And I think the one thing that the College Football Playoff Committee likes, I've been saying this, is it seems like they like style points, right? They want you it's just record and style points. That's why, like a team like Michigan, you look at what they've done despite their schedule. You just look at on paper wins and losses and their record. They're in 100%. I mean, they're killing everybody.
Yeah, that is a light schedule. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is a light schedule, Kyle. But when you put that up, all I seen was a bunch of green W's right there. And compare that to Michigan's schedule. Apparently, they're not holding it against Michigan. In my opinion, has a weaker schedule than Georgia across the board. Yeah. And I'm not a Georgia fan, man. But in their defense, they did have Oklahoma scheduled, and then the SEC made them cancel that game because of the Oklahoma and Texas coming into the league. Mm. But they did have Oklahoma scheduled, and beyond their control. I hear what you're saying, man. Believe me, it's been a beef of mine how lame Georgia's schedule is. But however, Michigan has a lamer schedule, easier schedule, and it's not being held against them as much. I mean, that's but I hear what you're saying. But like I said, they're like you were saying too, the beef of their schedules coming up these next 4 or 5 games. They've got some tough games coming up. The Tennessee game may be a tough one for them. Ole Miss is probably a little better team than people give them credit for, because I think they only got 1 loss against Bama, and Ole Miss has got a good coach, Lane Kiffin, love him or hate him, who, by the way, I think is going to be the next Alabama coach. But I see that, but like I said, they're not holding that against Michigan, but they'll definitely kind of hold that against Georgia a little bit. But we'll see what Georgia's made of starting this weekend against Florida and the cocktail party, and then coming up these next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll see what Georgia's made of. Absolutely.
All right, and 2 more. So you got Bama's best win so far. Is it as easy to say as it's the win against Tennessee? That's what everyone has said so far.
Yeah, that has to be their best win so far, simply because of how bittersweet it was last year, getting beat in the fashion that one game cost Bama the season, kind of. And it's, that's got to be their best overall win so far against, but I think their most solid win so far would be, it might be kind of ridiculous to say, but against Mississippi State. I mean, Mississippi State's a solid team, a decent team anyway, I should say. But Bama really thoroughly put it to them. But yeah, I'd say it's a solid win. But like I say, man, that win against Tennessee, Bama only put up 365 yards of total offense. I mean, I don't want to nitpick and take that away from them. But I guess I might show efficiency. I don't know. I don't know what it shows, but and I'm gonna go ahead and say this, Kyle, and don't get me done, man. I'm a major Bama fan right here. You know that, but I'm going to go ahead and just condition my mind right now and tell you that Bama's going to lose to LSU, man. That's because LSU is going to put up points. They're going to put up points. Maybe I'm just mentally conditioned in my mind right now. Bama for the letdown or whatever. Bama's going to put up LSU's going to put up points. Bama's got a good D. But LSU's got a really, really good offense. And that quarterback of theirs, that dude's almost spectacular, man. That dude's spectacular. Mm-hmm. And I see LSU puts up 30-plus points, and then Bama can't do it. And I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction on that game where Bama gets beat by LSU, man, in Tuscaloosa.
All right, Mike. I appreciate it. Danny, and the phone lines are open, man. So if you want to call in, man, please call in and give us your take on LSU. I'd love to catch up with you. Mike has LSU beating Bama. Okay, last thing we got for you, Mike, before we get to our next callers. And inside the call queue, we have a 256 and a 631. We'll get to you guys in just a second. Is Bama better than these teams like Washington, Oregon, Florida State, North Carolina? Or, is it just too early to tell, or is it just hypothetical and doesn't even matter? What's your take, Mike?
I say yes, Bama's better than them teams. And the reason why is defense. That Pac-12 and ACC, they've never played an NFL-like defense like Bama has. It kind of be like, Georgia playing an NFL team, man. It's just a different level of play. I mean, but yeah, I'd say Bama's better than them teams because of the physicality and the defense. And Bama's defense would match up well against their, the physicality of it. I'd say, yeah, that's, absolutely. But the Pac-12 definitely. I don't think there's anybody in the Pac-12, including Washington, Oregon, that can hang with Bama. That far as I know, man. But the ACC, Florida State, I don't think so either, dude. I think Bama's better than all them teams. I think the only team that can beat Bama, God, I hate to say it, is LSU, man. I think that's the only team that can beat Bama. But we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how that plays out, Kyle. But don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for a team now, man. I'm rooting for the good guys, Bama. Don't get me wrong now, but I guess I'm just conditioning my mind. And like I say, just what it takes to beat Bama's quarterback play. And LSU's got the quarterback. They got the coaching. And their defense is probably, I think LSU's defense has been struggling. But, man, they got the dudes, man. They got the big old physical dudes. I don't know why they're really – I don't know, man. But if LSU shows up and plays their best game, Bama's going to be in trouble. Because, like I say, God bless the good guys in Tuscaloosa, man. But their offense is not putting up the yardage. They're not putting up. They're still just not clicking offensively. And eventually, it's going to come back to haunt them. But hey, Kyle, good talking to you, man. Keep up the good work here on the YouTube. And I'm glad to see you on more often. I enjoy watching the show. And I'll stay tuned in, man. You take care.
All right, man. Take it easy, man. I appreciate the calling. All right. That was
okay.
Mike from Austin having LSU beating Alabama. We got a 256, a 631, and a 443. Kyle Henderson and Bama Football on YouTube. Appreciate you guys joining me this morning. I'm going to be on every single morning this week. Kind of a beta test just to kind of test the water on the morning shows. Looked at my schedule. I figured that's something I could do. I love that we have Mike Gundy inside the comment box. That's hilarious. I see you guys. A thumbs up goes a long way. You can also become a fan funder by hitting the join button. Super chats, of course, are welcome. George Scott says Bama just needs to work on sustaining blocks at the point of attack in the rushing game. game. We're so close to being able to run the ball with some consistency. One of the things that I do like about the running game is the hard running north and south from Jace McClellan. I think that 115 yards in this last game showed a lot of ability from these running backs to continue to run tough. I mean, this running back room is healthy. When they run north and south, they have a great chance to pick up yards rather than dancing. I mean, the only player that I think could probably go side to side is Justice Haynes, and we just haven't seen him that much this season, but maybe in the future there'll be some more opportunities for him. Okay, we go back to the phone lines with the 256. Let's do it right now. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Kyle, what's up with you, man? This is Jay.
Hey, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in this morning. I mean, people are saying we need more positive callers. Look, this has been a season of anxiety. Saturdays are no longer relaxing when you're watching Alabama football. You know, you used to be able to, turn on the TV on Saturday and enjoy yourself and go out to the barbecue grill and know that Alabama was going to cover the 21-point spread. No, now you're sweating at halftime. You don't know what's going to happen, and you're shutting off the TV. You're turning it back on. You're doing all your things that you got to do to your superstitious things to help them go and win. But let's jump right into it. You make the call. What are the keys for Alabama to beat LSU?
Somebody got to get a good lick or two on Daniels, make him think about running. Mm-hmm. We got to contain the pocket. Don't rush too far upfield. Keep him in the pocket. Mm-hmm. Somebody got to lock down Malik Neighbors. I don't care who it is, Kool-Aid. You talk all this money, talk first round, talk all of that. Well, this is the game we need to see it because you ain't been playing like no first rounder. Mm-hmm. Secondary communication gonna have to be very good because these folks, they ain't just got one receiver, they got like three. You know what I'm saying? Like, so everybody gonna have to be on their P's and Q's. Pass rush, you got to get there, man. Ain't no excuses this game. Big boys up front, they got to get there. And on offense, you got to play a ball control style of offense, man. You got to run that ball. And I've been so ticked off with this Tommy Rees guy because see, I ain't gonna name drop the show, but I called into another Alabama show and I'm like, man, we complained for 2 years about the players getting NIL and all of this, but this man get a guaranteed $2 million contract, man, and he ain't doing what we need him to do though, Cal. You know what I mean? I can't go to work, not do my job and still get paid. You see what I'm saying, man? He ain't doing his job, Cal. You is not putting these 4- and 5-star receivers, these 4- and 5-star linemen, these 4- and 5-star players you got in the best position for them to win. It took us to what there was, the 6-7 game of the year to see a jet sweep to Kendrick Law? Man, come on, man. A little kid looking at Alabama football team will be like, well, dang, I got to figure out how I can get him the ball. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So Tommy Rees, I feel like this whole, really ever since Sark left, everybody been on this whole, we got to trust Save and he's the go. But, hey, man, he ain't Jesus. He is not perfect. He made a couple bad hires. You know what I'm saying? Bill O'Brien sucked. It ain't nothing else to say. You had a Heisman Trophy winner. You can't get a national championship out of that. You suck as a coach, man. Tommy Rees, you mean to tell me you got 350-pound linemen and you got these boys running left and right instead of going straight down the field, moving people? It just don't make sense to me, man. And oh no, Cal. I get so heated about that, man, because I swear Nick just need to lock me and him in the closet for 10 minutes, man.
And you know what? And the thing about it is Tommy Rees don't even have to come out and answer questions from the media or the press or anybody because Saban, but guess who does? Jalen Milroe after every single game. Exactly. So does Malachi Moore. So does Chris Broswell, Dallas Turner. So it's crazy to me that the offensive and defensive coordinator don't have to come out and answer questions, but the players do. Like, you know what? After the game against Texas, guess who had to come out and answer questions? Jalen Milroe.
Come on now.
And guess where Tommy Rees was? I don't know.
In the locker room, chilling.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, those guys are man enough to come out and answer questions that they need to. And I know it's Saban's regime, but it's like, look, the players are answering the questions. The assistant coaches do too. Okay. With that said, how about this guy, Kevin Still? Give me your take on Coach Still leading Alabama's defense.
Kevin Steele, he getting by on talent right now. We got a very, very talented defense. Nick, they recruited his tail off. We ain't seen him develop no depth. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody seen no Earl Little. You ain't really seen Kendrick Story. Story. You ain't seen these guys like we used to see of old. You know, like how they used to rotate younger Bama guys in and stuff like that. We ain't seen that. And them 20 points we gave up to Tennessee in that first half, that's going to be 40 points to LSU. You come out there calling that bullcrap game like you did, bro. Ain't no way I'm going to have Christian Braswell. I don't care if it's him just standing there. I'm not going to have this man lined up in front of their best receiver. That just don't even make sense in the game of football. So Kevin Steele, old man now. Yeah, old man. So somebody, he probably had him a little dementia moment or something, but somebody should have been telling him, hey, man, what, they call a timeout or something? That's not the right matchup there. You know what I mean? So he going to have to be on point this whole game. You know what I mean? We can't give up no little cheap plays to LSU, none of that. We know the man like to run, so you need to go ahead and be conditioning Q-Rob and Jahai Campbell, because them the two who I feel like can run with him as far as him on the quarterback scramble. And you need to let them know, hey, man, y'all got eyes on him all game. You get within 2 feet of him, I expect you to knock his block off. You know what I mean? I don't want nothing else but this man to wake up with a headache. Other than that, hey, man, we gonna play man to man. We gonna blitz his butt. And that should be the defense, because, I mean, if you look what Florida State did to him, that's all they did that second half. They just straight manned up everybody and sent the house at him. And he couldn't do nothing. They kept a spy, sent everybody else. You know what I mean? I watched the Florida State game, guys. Y'all need to go watch that. You'll be like, dang, they just shut down their whole offense in the second half. Because, man, they kept a spy. The man couldn't run. They blitzed the house at him, and then they manned up and played great defense on the outside. That's all we got to do, man. We'll win this game easily. And your last call is, man, listen, man, you can go and get your crap on, bro. We don't manifest losing over here, dog. We only want winning at Bama, dog. So you talking crazy with that whole, I'm going to go and condition my mind. Man, you need to condition your ass on somewhere, because that ain't what we want here, bro. We want to hear about Bama and how we want Bama to win. We don't want all that depressed. Man, come on, man. Cal, I was ready to hang up on him.
All right. Georgia and Florida play. I'm asking people for their pick in that game. So far, it's been landslide Georgia. I get it. Even Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite. But also give me an Oregon and Utah pick as well.
Utah going to pull the upset. I just want Utah to pull the upset. Georgia gonna beat the crap out of Florida, man. They ain't got half the talent that them folks got. Yeah, Georgia got a complete team. And yes, if Bama beats Georgia in the SEC tournament, ain't no way they gonna leave Georgia out. The SEC will have 2 teams. I just don't believe that. I mean, these folks that won the championship the last 2 years, you lose one game, they're going to leave you out. I just don't see that going down just for the money purposes. People want to see Georgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. Yeah.
And then you got Florida State. Man, come on, man. Florida State ain't never been undefeated. I don't even know why we even still talk about them. Oklahoma, yeah, I can see them making it. And Ohio State, Michigan, you know what it is. Them folks got a whole bunch of money behind them, man. They got a huge fan base. So, yeah, I do feel like it was going to be 2 Big Ten and 2 SEC teams, because that's just where the most money going to come from. But, I don't know, man.
I think you bring up a good point. I mean, if Alabama wins out and Georgia wins out and Georgia ends the season with just 1 loss, does that knock Georgia out of the playoffs? That's interesting.
Sir.
I would agree with you. Let's ponder on that. Okay. Best Bama win so far. Is it this last win over Tennessee? Did I make that question too easy? Was there another win that impressed you more, or was this the last win, the best win?
To me, we ain't had no good Bama win. We ain't had no good Bama win. You ain't seen Bama come out there and completely dominate nobody from snap one. It was a point in time where what's his name? Garrett San Antonio or something like that. Whatever that Tennessee quarterback name was, that man was scared to come on the field. He was scared to come out there sometimes. So that's the Bama that we know. So I can't get it. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't even the players. Once again, it's the coaches, man. Coaching is the reason why we lost the Texas game. You mean you get to the 15-yard line, you ran the ball 6 times in a row, and then you decide to throw it with Jalen Milroe? That's stupid. That's bad coaching. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
We got to get back to blaming the adults in the room, man. These folks get guaranteed contracts. Them boys got to go out there and make a play for their NIL money.
But you bring up a really good point. I don't think there is a good Bama win this year, right? I mean, there's really not. I mean, the one against Texas A&M, I guess, on the road, but look what Texas A&M has done this season. Ole Miss, you're supposed to beat Ole Miss every year. The game's at home against Tennessee. You were trailing at halftime. You were trailing against Tennessee. You're right. Alabama does not have a good win this year. It's safe to say. Okay. I already know what you're going to say. I think I already know what you're going to say, Jay, on this one. Is Bama better than Oregon, the Washington, the Pac-12 teams, the ACC teams? I mean, you just said it. I'm with you 100% on the ACC, with Florida State not going undefeated. But what's your take? I mean, because Bama's sitting back, and I know they have to climb the college football ladder. The title of this video is called "The Top of College Football is Wide Open." What's your take on Bama greater than Pac-12 ACC?
Yeah, Bama better than all them schools, but when I say Bama better than all them schools, I'm talking about our individual players. Because coaching, once again, coaching, them coaches coach, man, they'll coach a circle around Tommy Rees. You don't know what you're gonna get from your top dog. So we better. Our players are better, but our coaches, our coordinators suck.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you calling in. I'm going to be on all this week at 9 a.m. Central Time, so feel free to call in anytime, and I appreciate rapping with you. I love the energy. I'm a high-energy person as well, especially in the morning times. Don't catch me at 2 p.m. 2 p.m. is where I like to take a little siesta, and I like to chill out. But other than that, I'm up for it, man. So you call in anytime, and we'll catch you next time.
Man, Kyle, 9 o'clock in the morning? Man, we need Kyle 24/7. Appreciate you, man. Roll Tide, man.
Roll Tide to you, man. See ya. That's funny. We got a 631, a 443, and a 720 inside the call queue. We'll get to you guys next right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the interview. Or the call in from Jay. That was good stuff. That's the type of energy that we want. Today we're playing You Make the Call. Keys to the game against LSU. Kevin Steele, kind of an appreciation, if you will. Georgia versus Florida and Oregon versus Utah. Best Bama win so far. Jay just pointed out that Alabama doesn't have one. And then is Alabama better than any of the Pac-12 teams? We'll go to the top of the hour, which will be 11 a.m. Before we break. But I will be here every day at 9 a.m. And, of course, stay tuned for more content on Bama Football on YouTube. With that said, we go back to the phone lines at 631. Let's do it. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where you calling in from?
Hey, what's up, Kyle? It's AJ from New York.
Hey, what's up, AJ? I appreciate you calling in from New York, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I've been a diehard Bama fan for the past, I would say, 11 years. I started paying attention about 11 years ago. I love Nick Saban. I love defense and I love running. That's what started it, I love defense and I love running. I love the way they recruited. I love the way they play. And I'm talking about diehard, live and die with them. When they lose, my week is messed up. When they win, I'm happy.
Yep.
So, with that being said, I have an unpopular opinion, right?
Okay.
I see no difference between this Alabama team and, let's say, the Bryce Young Alabama team. I see absolutely no difference except your quarterback. Everybody doesn't want to say, I don't know why people are afraid to hurt this young man's feelings. Listen, this is football. This is big boy football. We don't have a quarterback. Honestly speaking, I want everybody to hear this right now. If you plug in, let's say Caleb Williams, let's say the kid from Washington, or even Shador Sanders, because I watch him play. He's pretty damn good. You remove Jalen and you put one of those guys in there. What's our record? Honestly. What's our record? Change nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Don't change the O-line. Don't change the receivers. Don't change the play calling. We are blowing teams out.
Mm-hmm.
This kid is not a good quarterback. We are playing with an athlete who is not a good quarterback, cannot read the second or third option. His first option is gone. Either he goes deep or he scrambles.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we're watching. Stop lying to ourselves. I'm tired of blaming offensive line. I'm tired of blaming the coordinator. That coordinator is not a bad coordinator. Sometimes coordinators mess up. It happens. But guess what? 90% of the time when he's calling a great play, our quarterback misses the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to his first option, is not there, scrambles, or throws deep. That's what we're doing. Nick Saban is handicapped. Alabama is handicapped with a below-average quarterback. I'm sorry, that's what I'm seeing.
I'm bringing up, while we're talking about it, I'm bringing up his actual passing tree so we can look at that. Give me 1 second, because I think we should have the statistics to look at the info when we're talking about Jalen Milroe as Alabama's quarterback. Because, you know, what's interesting about Jalen Milroe. So hold on, I'm bringing these up real quick. Let me read these out, AJ. So to the outside left, and this is put together by Pro Football Focus. So to the outside left and 20 yards downfield, Jalen Milroe is 4 of 7 for 133 yards with 2 touchdowns with an NFL passing rating of 141, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are considered like elite type numbers, right? And just like you said, these are deep ball. 12 of 18 to the center. And this is 20 yards downfield, 472 yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a passing rating in the NFL of 149. Crazy numbers. 5 of 10, 198 to the outside. Right. I know, it's crazy. 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. That last interception just came in that last game, 20 yards downfield when he threw it and bounced off in Jermaine Burton. Okay. So underneath 20 yards into the outside left, we see a big change, and this is where he's struggling, is to the intermediate to the outside left. 8 of 14 for 126, 1 interception, and an NFL passing rating of 57.4. Now the middle, AJ, I have to tell you, these two numbers have improved significantly. So I'm just reading out the statistics, and the reason I know that is because I've been tracking it. 9 of 18, 174, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions across the middle, 81.5 NFL, and then to the right, intermediate, 4 of 6, 86, 107.7. And then below 10, those are just kind of like swings and dumps. 11 of 14, 9 of 25. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, that's what we would expect it to be.
But Kyle,
mm-hmm.
This is what I'm saying to you. Kyle, hold on. Kyle, I see the stats. I see the stats you put up, and I want people to understand this, and especially people who played football, man. It's very important that people who understand football stats, when you're looking at these stats, right, it doesn't take into account the plays that should have happened, that never happened because he tucked his tail and started running, or missed the receiver, or got a sack. It doesn't account for those plays that should have happened. Mm-hmm. So when we go, he's 8 for 14 here, he's 4 for 6 there. That should have been okay. So that right side you see right there where it says 4 for 6,
mm-hmm.
4 for 6, and that middle you see 9 for 18.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't account for what should have been. The receivers that he missed wide open
mm-hmm.
when he went to his first option, missed it, tuck his tail and run, or get sacked. That's why stats are misleading, because it doesn't account for what should have happened. That side should have said 8 for freaking 12, not 4 for 6.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? He missed wide open receivers all the time. I'm talking about all the time. I'm watching it so frustrated. His first read is not there. The kid panics. He loses his footwork and he runs. That's the difference between Bryce Young and another quarterback we had, or him. There's no difference between this Alabama team and the Bryce Young Alabama teams. In fact, I've watched Old Miss drop 50 on the old Alabama teams, 40. So this team is relatively the same or better. The only difference is quarterback. We have to understand that, and your quarterback affects your defense also. Because your defense is always on the field, always has bad position on the field, they're not going to play this. And confidence. These are 18 to 21-year-old kids. If I know my quarterback sucks, if I know we're not scoring 50 today, we're going to be in a dogfight, and I'm going to be on the field all game, my confidence is not there. But if I know Bryce Young is back there or Tua Tagovailoa is back there, and I know we're scoring 50 today, I'm pinning my ears back, and I'm going after the quarterback. It's a confidence thing. It's a quarterback thing, and they're not confident in their quarterback. The players are not confident. The O-line's not confident. Receivers are not going to our school. Receivers being recruited. And I've seen this in Twitter or X, whatever you call it. I've seen receivers talking about, I'm not going to Alabama. Why? I'm not getting the ball. The best receivers are not going to Alabama. We have no quarterback. They're not going. The Tigers are not going to Alabama. We have no quarterback. For some reason, I don't get it. Quarterbacks don't come to us. I don't know why, but we're not getting the quarterback play. The quarterback play affects offense and defense. That's the major issue. You plug in Shedeur Sanders. I guarantee you, Shedeur Sanders at Alabama with Nick Saban coaching and that level of coaching, we're a much better team. Caleb, kid from Washington, any other above average quarterback. I don't even need Caleb. Above average play. We are playing with a below average quarterback. We have to admit this. I'm scared to death for LSU because not that we're not a better team. Pound for pound, we have much better players than LSU. Pound for pound. Our receivers are better. Our corners are better. Our D-line's better. Our O-line's better. Everything except one thing, quarterback. If you switch LSU's quarterback with our quarterback, I'm calling it a score, Alabama 58, LSU 13. But the problem is quarterback. So because of our quarterback sucks so badly and their quarterback is so good, it's probably going to be a nail-biter or LSU wins. And we have to be honest. It's not because LSU's a better team than us. They're not a better team. They're not better coached. It's because of that one position that matters so much in today's football, quarterback. That's the major difference. The quarterback eliminates our better D-line, our better linebackers, our better offense, our better receivers, because our quarterback is below average and their quarterback is so much above average.
I have Jaden Daniels passing trade. I'm going to bring that up on top. Just so we could look at that one as well. Let me take off that banner below. So this is what we're looking at now is Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels has some of the best overall statistics in college football. So just for reference sake, I just want to compare them. I haven't even looked at these, to be honest. I did the other day. I looked at Caleb Williams, but this was way before he fell off the rails against Notre Dame. So here's Jaden Daniels. So 149. So similar actually numbers to Jalen Milroe up at the top. I mean, except to the outside right, whatever's going. I mean, he's. Against Ole Miss to the outside right, I saw him make some throws that were just ridiculous. So 157.9 to the outside right.
Nuts.
So then when you look to the center, now he has a lot more repetitions to the center, but he has 7 to 13, 200 yards, 99 NFL ratings to the left. That's under 20 yards, and then intermediate across center of the field, 15 to 24, 277 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 8 to 12 to the outside right, and then below that kind of dump offs or whatever. So those are kind of just the numbers for comparison's sake. I think when you look to let me ask you this, AJ, because you have been critical of Jalen Milroe, and rightfully so. That's your opinion. Do you feel that since you have seen Jalen Milroe play that first game against Middle Tennessee to this last game against Tennessee, that he is that you've seen an improvement, that you've seen an upwards trajectory from him, or do you think it's kind of been a stagnant play, and that's why you're so disappointed?
The only thing that's improved from Jalen Milroe is not his talent. It's the same. He sucks. The only thing that's improved from Jalen Milroe is his confidence. He's playing with more confidence. And that I've seen more. With more confidence, it enhances your play. That's just common sense. As in basketball, it's in football. The more confident you are, the longer you've been doing something, the more confident you are, and that improves your play. But as far as his individual talent, I'm telling you, he is below average at best. He's not a quarterback. Let's admit this. He's not a quarterback. The kid has a great deep ball. He's developed a great deep ball because deep ball doesn't okay, so a deep ball, I don't want to say it's easier because playing football at that level is not easy. This is D1 big boy football. Nothing is easy. I don't want to make it seem like I'm saying this is easy. Or if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's not easy. But the deep ball, once you master the deep ball, it's and with the talent you have at Alabama, it's easier than to read a defense, go to your first option, second option, third option, bang, complete. He does not throw dots. His intermediate ball he looks hesitant. I don't know if you watch him throw. It doesn't look like a smooth transition from like pocket, throwing, and ball gets there. It kind of looks like he's like fishing with the football. Like he'll go, here you go. Like it doesn't look like a smooth, like his 15-yard passes, 12 to 15-yard passes doesn't look smooth at all. It looks like he's like saying, like he's pitching it. It doesn't look like a smooth quarterback playing. It's just he's not a quarterback. He's not a quarterback. He's an athlete who has a great deep ball, but he's not a quarterback. We have to admit this. And I don't know how we're going to win a national championship. I don't know. I hope we do. He's probably the best option we have. That kid from Notre Dame, I don't even know why he's there. Bunchen, whatever his name is, I don't even know. What is Nick Saban doing? I don't even know why he's there. Tyler Simpson is not ready. I would love to see. Here's what I want to see, Kyle. I would love to see during one of our blowouts or whatever, bring in that freshman kid. Let him get. And I'm not saying bring him in to hand the ball off like Nick Saban always does. I don't know what the hell we're doing. That's not experience. I mean, bring the kid in late third quarter, early fourth quarter. Bring the freshman in and let him actually play a little football. He might make mistakes, but let us see what we have there. Of course, he's not going to start. We know that. But bringing in these freshmen to hand the ball off with 2 minutes left in the game is not experience. I've been watching Alabama play for years, and we always do this. We always bring in a freshman with 2 minutes left. We're up by freaking 40, but we wait till 2 minutes left in the game to bring a freshman to hand the ball off and then say he gained experience. No. If you're up by 40 at the beginning of the fourth or the middle of the fourth, bring the kid in for 2 or 3 series. Let us see what we have. That's called experience. And we haven't rushed our freshmen. We haven't ran the kid from Florida. We haven't ran the kid from Georgia. This is all experience, man. We don't need to give
AJ
our starting back 20-something carries.
AJ, I gotta move to my next card, but before I do, AJ, I wanted to show you something real quick, okay? So move that bumper from the bottom. Okay. So this is the NCAA leaders in efficiency. Okay. Number 1 quarterback in the country, Jaden Daniels. Okay. Efficiency rating of 204. JJ McCarthy, 199. Bo Nix, 180. Caleb Williams, 179. Michael Penix, 176. Jalen Milroe, 174. Dylan Gabriel, 172. Tyler Van Dyke, 171. The quarterback from Liberty, 171. And then Jackson Dart, 167. So, I mean, those efficiency numbers say different than what you're saying.
Let's look at passing touchdowns now. No, hold on. Remember, stats don't tell the story. Look at passing touchdowns. Let's look at the only one with 13 up there, right? And let's not count the passes that he missed with wide open receivers. The guy under him almost threw 100 more passes.
Hold on, let me see if I can. Let me try to pull up the stats so you could have your.
With more attempts comes more room for mistakes. So Gabriel under him almost throws 100 more passes than him. So yes, it's you understand? The more attempts you make, the more chances are you're going to throw an interception or incomplete. The less you do, your stats are going to look inflated. The kid threw 13 touchdown passes. Everybody else has 25, 18, 19, 23, 20, and he has 13. That tells the story right there. Pass attempts, 223, 232, 237, 257, 233, and Jalen Milroe's 153. Yeah, of course you're going to, look at completions. Of course your stats are going to be pass efficiency. You're not throwing the damn ball.
I do like that point though, because you do look at the attempts and they are significant. But the truth of the matter is,
the truth is threw for 250 attempts. If Milroe threw for 250 attempts, those stats wouldn't be up there. His pass efficiency wouldn't be 100.
AJ, call for one of our evening shows, man. I gotta move to my next caller, but it was good rapping with you, and I appreciate.
No problem, bro.
I appreciate the context on Milroe,
man. I tell you, man. I started watching you. I just want to tell you, I started watching you, Kyle. Yo, I love your dedication, man. It's anytime I want to listen to Alabama talk, I tune into you, bro.
I appreciate you too, AJ, man. Talk to you later, brother. See you, man.
All right.
All right, my boy AJ calling from New York. He's hot. I'm Jalen Milroe. That was being pimped up on AJ for a while. Glad he got that out, man. Sometimes I just sit back and, just listen. And the thing about it is, like, when you call into the show, like, don't hold back. Like, if you want to talk about something and something's been on your mind, talk about it. It's okay. Like, you definitely deserve a point of view. Like, if you're not happy with Milroe, if you're not happy with Saban, or you're not happy with this or that, like, call into the show. Talk about it. We look at the stats. Sometimes stats don't tell a story. Sometimes they do. Quarterback, in my opinion, I think that the kid is certainly improving week by week. I mean, this is a much better quarterback right now from Jalen Milroe than it was against Texas, 100%. And going up against Jaden Daniels from LSU is a hell of an opportunity to showcase your abilities and to showcase your continued improvement as a quarterback. It's going to be challenging for Alabama, 100%. You look at Jaden Daniels up there, against all those other quarterbacks. I mean, whatever it is, besides the passing attempts, I mean, he's up there. I mean, those are the top quarterbacks. Penix from Washington, baller. Jaden Daniels, baller. J.J. McCarthy doing what he's got to do. Bo Nix, he's beat Alabama before in an Auburn jersey. Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy last year. Dylan Gabriel. That Dylan Gabriel is a ball. That kid is so good. He is. If you guys haven't watched him, he's great. Tyler Van Dyke, remember when he was going to transfer? There was like some smoke that he was going to transfer to Bama. And then looks like Liberty, still doing their thing. And then Lane Kiffin doing wonders with Jackson Dart, who's an incredible athlete as well. Very talented. That kid, he was good, man. And then leading the interceptions right there, what is that? Tyler Van Dyke has 6. Milroe has 5. Penix has 5. Caleb Williams has 4. I think 3 of those or 2 of those came against Notre Dame. Notre Dame played the game of their life against USC. That Notre Dame team looked good. All right, we got a couple more callers. We'll take a 4-4-3 right now. Hey, thanks for being patient. You're online with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on line with, and where are you calling in from?
Yo, this is Xander, calling out of Maryland, PA area. How's it going?
What's up, man? I appreciate you, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, man, thanks. First thing, we got to settle some. A couple of days ago, you said Smitty was the best wide receiver out of Alabama. You just can't do that to Julio. Julio helped build Bama from, if it wasn't for Julio getting recruited there, who knows, how many other people want to go. But, when he showed up to Atlanta, he was obviously the number one. I mean, he dominated for 7 years, 8 years. Had that 1,800 yards year. It's just, I love Smitty, but we can't do that to Julio just yet.
See, I think though, okay, so I just asked everyone in the comment box because Julio was, what Julio did here, was not being discounted. The reason, because I've thought about this before. I love talking about wide receivers. And I appreciate you calling in from Maryland. I love Maryland. You look at the wide receivers over the past. So you got Julio, and we can't forget about that group, right? Like Julio, Amari Cooper, who is a baller. When I got here, Calvin Ridley was the guy. And then when he left, then you had all those young guns come in, right? So I watched those guys grow up. So like Calvin Ridley was like, the senior, and then I think Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Smitty, and then you had Waddle come in, and now, so I watched those guys develop. And the thing about it is, because Julio, what he did here was amazing, and he has a completely different body style than Smitty, right? But
they're not even the same type of wide receiver.
Yeah, they're not even the same type. Like Julio is, he's a monster. He's almost kind of like a DK Metcalf in a sense, right? He's just a monster of a man.
He has Julio has 300-yard games in the NFL,
Jeez, that's crazy. I didn't even know that. But what I saw,
I'm pretty sure there's 1 against Green Bay and 2 against Carolina.
That's crazy. The thing that I liked about Smitty though, was the fact that his mentality, And I don't know if you saw that sound. I think I probably said it on that night we were talking about that soundbite. Like, he is just all business all the time. And not to say that Julio wasn't or whatever. I'm just saying, like, I personally, in my opinion, I like the mindset of Devontae Smith. The guy didn't say anything. He was the worst interview because he didn't want to talk. Like, he just wanted to practice.
No, he wanted to play football.
That's it. And they were like, what happened? You dropped the football. And he's like, I dropped the F from football. What more is there to say about it? And they're like, what can you learn about it? He's like, catch the damn ball. It's like the best soundbite. And that's how he is. But that's fine. I mean, Julio, absolute baller. Cooper, Ridley, all those wide receivers. And I think now when you look to, I don't think there was a ride out last year on this team. And a ride out has to be like a category that you break into. Would you say now, kind of switching gears, that Jermaine Burton has garnered that ride out title?
I mean, if there was one thing I could do, if I was able to talk to any player, it would be apologize to Burton, because for 2 years, the thing that I've been just completely disgusted by is because everybody thinks they're wide receiver U, but some of the best wide receivers in the league have been coming out of Bama.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you think number one wide receivers, a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, that guy's from Alabama. And I just didn't see it from Burton last year, and maybe it was just the scheme. Who knows? I mean, Brooks, don't know what's happened to him.
Yeah.
I know a lot of fans, we saw, Jai Hall, that spring game, and then he couldn't catch a ball in the in the championship at all. And, it was just 2 years of frustration of waiting for a guy to actually want to be a Bama wide receiver and have that Bama wide receiver claim. There's a lot of great wide receivers that you just talked about. But yeah, it would definitely be apologize to Burton and be like, you know what, you are that guy.
Yeah, because there was so many people.
I definitely have been all over Twitter being like, Burton, where are you?
Yeah, and so many. Remember when we all found out that Burton was coming back? Everyone was like, shit, he's coming back. And
okay, cool. We're gonna get another 500 yards.
Yeah,
Yay.
exactly. And somebody even in the comment box who said that, I'll never forget, they're like, Burton is putting up he's putting up Georgia type receiver numbers, meaning that, remember when Georgia didn't really throw the football, they're like, he's doing that here at Alabama. Yeah. But that guy, something happened to him. He's playing, and I think a lot of it is because he might have read some of the noise. And now he's playing pissed off. Like the way that he's playing now, and even his mantra, like on the field, like that has put him in that category. And the catches that he had against Tennessee, that
was a great catch.
And
coming back towards the ball.
Kind of into AJ's point, some of those balls weren't exactly on target, and making some of those adjusted catches were really impressive. And he's done that all this season. So certainly.
He did drop a good bit of balls in the second half of Arkansas. Him and
Malik Benson did too.
Prentice.
Yeah.
That like a lot of people were blaming Burton. Milroe for the second half of Arkansas, and I can't even think about how many second down and third downs someone dropped a ball, or like it hit him in the one of them hit, if I remember correctly, Burton at in the chest, and he dropped it. And then there was one catch that I wouldn't blame the wide receiver for. He had to go up real high, got hit, dropped the ball. That's hard to do. None of us in the comment section are doing that. We're getting carted off the field. So, but when we look at wide receivers as fans, we're like, hey, if it touches your hands, you need to come down with it.
Yeah, 100%.
And especially when it matters on a third down. You got to die for that ball. But so I don't really blame Milroe for everything. He does have an absurd amount of time in the pocket, so I don't think it's the O-line. I think, what they've been doing with the tight ends to help with the pass protection has been great. It does stink because Nyblack looks pretty good. I love to see him catching more balls. What is it, Otis, or I think is his name, right? He's pretty good too. But he is getting a lot of protection. I think we shored that up the past 3 games. Maybe 4 games now. He's been just getting protected like crazy.
It's the tight end room is Amari Nyblack, who's like a guy who can split out. You talked about him. CJ Dupree is number 81, and then number 45. You pronounce his name Robbie Oots. It's a even
Oots, yeah, that's right.
It's an
Yeah,
even harder.
Yeah.
It's
he also.
Can anyone spell the name quickly inside the comment box? Let's see if you can. That's your test for today. Don't look it up. Just spell
No,
Oots
I'm
inside.
from Albany, Georgia. That's not going to happen.
Right? Spell
So,
Oots. I'm serious. It's tough. It's on your spelling test. Go ahead. All right, continue, man.
But yeah, no, I mean, he has a lot of time. I think he's like, again, I know he looks like he's 30 years old. He is a sophomore in college.
Mm.
He probably was doing the RPO from the time he was in elementary school, because he's so fast, he's so big. They were probably like, look, you just do read option, you run it or pass it deep. That's all you need to do. And he probably did that from the time he was, a kid till he was in high school. And now college football has changed. We don't do that anymore. Almost no one does that. It's like Army that does that. And it just doesn't happen. So now he has to learn to develop his, ability to read defenses and go through his progressions while reading the zones that he's throwing into. Mm. And you can see that, he's getting the time. I mean, there was a couple of times against Tennessee, he had like 10 seconds, and he just never let go of the ball and took a sack. And if, I think there is something that can be easily taught. And I think Nick Saban has been doing this thing, like, let's fix the things to help him first, and then we'll work on his development of, hey, maybe internal clock, count to 3, get rid of it. He does have an issue if you watch a lot of his clips, especially ones where he takes a sack. Go watch the ones only where he takes a sack. He starts from the left, immediately snaps to the right, then will snap back to the left, but never pays attention to who's over the middle. And that's where I feel like people are not realizing how good Isaiah Bond is. He's open constantly.
Yeah.
Just absurd amounts. He is just in the zone between the safety, wide open, could get a 20 yards easily. Mm-hmm. And he, Milroe just hasn't developed that progression ability yet. And again, this is probably new. He just dealt with Bill O'Brien. Who knows what that was like? I know I didn't like watching it. I mean, like they were setting up Young for the worst success. I mean, snapping the ball with 1 second left every play there was a reason why he was getting so much pressure. Like, everybody knew when to go. Mm-hmm. And who knows what he was being taught during that. And now he's, got this new coordinator. Like, that's never great for any quarterback, especially one who's probably changing his play style. It is interesting. As soon as we switch back to like the RPO, we had a lot of success. I'm not saying we should do that because it is easy for defenses to, deal with nowadays. But it would be nice to mix it in a little bit, just to mess with the defense and get them having to think about it. But if we can get Milroe realizing that, he has something over the middle, because a lot of our success when we're getting down the field is, Nye Black over the middle, Bond over the middle. He doesn't do, there was a lot of air balls being thrown to the left, and I can't tell if he's trying to get rid of it sometimes or if he's just overthrowing the wide receiver out on the left. But I think he is a good quarterback. He's just still very young. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have been his same build that, were too strong and overthrew the ball a lot when they were young. I think people forget what Cam Newton was like. He couldn't hit anything close. He overthrew everything. And that was even an issue he had in the NFL. But I think Milroe has some very promising times within games where it's like, okay, see, if he can just maintain that, we'll be dangerous. Because at the end of the day, the reason our run game has been the way it has been is really just they aren't really dealing with intermediate passing. So their linebackers are dropping in and just making it more difficult. But I think as soon as we even have a couple of games where he's throwing over the middle, look what happened to Tennessee. They, he started getting good passes in, and they had nothing to deal with the run at that point. Yep. Especially when he started running. Once he started running, they had no answer. The big thing that I think is going to be the key to LSU, people are talking about how we don't get, we're not getting pressures and we're not getting sacks. I don't think that's actually statistically true. We get a lot of guys in the backfield. The problem was the past 3 games we've been dealing with very large quarterbacks, and we just weren't getting the tackles we should, or they were breaking tackles. I mean, Tennessee, he broke 3 tackles off to the right, for a first down. If they can get their hands on Daniels, we've seen all the other teams hurt him pretty bad. I think if Dallas touches him, he's probably going down. So I think the key is really just going to be making, if we can actually not have him break tackles, if Daniels is not capable of breaking tackles, then I think he's going to have a bad night, because I do still, compared to last year, we had the speed to deal with LSU. The problem was someone was not coaching kids how to tackle. I think people forget how bad the tackling was, and they need to just be thankful that we've learned how to tackle this year. There's a lot of times where last year the same situation would have happened, and a guy would have just dove at the dude, not wrapped him up, and a guy would have got a first down. Where this time we're putting our hands on guys, we're wrapping them up, we're trying to pull them backwards, and I think that's huge. So for Kevin Steele and whatever secondary coordinator it is or linebacker coach it is, I don't know who it is, but I appreciate him teaching these kids how to tackle, because that was the most frustrating thing I watched all last year, was the amount of people that just broke free for no reason.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Xander. I appreciate it, man. I got to move to my next caller before I end the show, but I appreciate you calling in. Please call again. I know you're a first-time caller, man, so call again. We got room for you, man. So appreciate the call from Maryland, and take it easy, man.
Yeah, man, you too.
All right. That was Xander calling in. This 720 is going to be our last caller. So our 912 and our 936. I know I didn't get to you today. Don't want you to hang on the phone line, so you guys can go ahead and drop the calls. I will be again live tomorrow at 9 a.m. So the 720 will be my last call. 256, I know you just joined. You can hang up too, so you don't have to wait. So 912, go ahead and, I'll catch you tomorrow in 720. Let's do it right now. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line.
Hello,
with
Kyle.
Yeah, what's up, man? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where you calling in from?
This is Hamburger Stan himself, Rob from Colorado.
Yeah, so the thing about it is, Rob. So a lot of all these shows have popped up and stuff like that, and I love it. The more content, the better. But Rob started calling in like 5 years ago when I didn't have a beard and all this type of stuff, and when this technology didn't really exist. So Rob has been calling in for a long time, and the first time he called in, he was at Smash Brothers. So we've been boys for a long time, man. So I appreciate you calling in. He texted me the other night, and he was like, "Did you block me?" I was like, "Dude, I'm blocking you." I didn't block you. I was like, because the call-in line, if it gets busy, I mean, there's so many people, like on my busy shows, there'll be 17 numbers that are trying to call in. It's a busy show. It's nothing personal. But with that said, man, Rob, I appreciate you I'm glad you're doing well, and I appreciate you calling in, man. With that said, welcome to the show.
Yes, man, I've been trying to call in, but you're right. You're very popular. You've come a long way, and you deserve the recognition. You give us a voice. There's a few shows on here, Locked on Bama. I like that show, and then there's your show, which was, to me, the main show. There was a show with Ryan Garcia before you. I don't know if you remember that. That was maybe 2015, 2016. But I like your show the best. I like the other show. I forgot with the Stephen M. Smith. I like his show too. So solid content for Bama. But yeah, I was listening to the previous caller, and he was bringing up the point with Milroe. And, with Milroe, like, I don't know how much 7-on-7 he's doing, but I feel like we need to try to figure out, and mainly Milroe, if he wants to be an NFL quarterback, there's a lot of things he's going to have to change up. He'll probably be with us next year, so that's good. We'll build him up. But if all you guys remember how bad of a passer Jalen Hurts was his first 2 years, and if you remember how bad he was, Milroe is a lot better.
It came down to he was just doing shovel passes. Like what you saw to Kendrick Lamar this last game, that's all they were doing. And so Jalen Milroe would throw for like 220 yards, but it was all just shovel passes.
Yeah. So it's like people are bad on Milroe. I hate the fact The sacks will hurt us so bad in big games. He got to stop with that. I would rather him run. And Kyle, did you see Milroe? I'm not trying to rant. I'm just because I know you got the 5 questions. But did you see Milroe in the gym when he power cleaned 335?
Yeah, he's a beast.
Did you see when he came down with it and he held it like he cleaned it and then he came down with it like I don't know, and I know you work out. Bro, I don't even know if like defensive ends, and maybe they can't, but the way he held it, like, dude, this guy can play outside linebacker. I mean, dude, you got to have a strong back, shoulders, forearms to hold that like that. I mean, he is jacked. He should be, bro, that stiff arm he did against Tennessee, he should have grabbed the guy and threw him out of bounds and kept, if you that strong, shoot, why not?
Mm.
But and then the guys, I think someone talked about Julio Jones and Smitty, and wide receivers.
Yep.
Man, look, that guy was right. Jones helped Jones helped turn Alabama to kind of it is what it is today. Mm. Wide receiver U, or we're like top 5 teams. Wide receiver U, but man, what Smitty did to Ohio State. And how hard Waddle was to guard. If you remember how hard it was to defend against Waddle, man, you give me Smitty and Waddle on a team, and they both healthy. Man, in an average, a little bit above average quarterback, man, it's curtains. It is curtains.
Those wide receivers were amazing, man.
Yes, Nye Black.
Yeah, Nye
Who's
Black.
the tight end for Florida that we had issues with in 2020? He's got to be in the NFL right now. The tight end,
somebody
6'5",
will know inside the comment box. Post who it is inside the comment box. The comment box is a fax machine. Yeah, I mean, look, and this is this type of tight end was the tight end that I wanted Alabama to have. Kyle Pitts. There you go, Kyle Pitts. Thank you.
If we don't use him like they use Kyle Pitts, we're a fool, man. I'm sorry, man. That dude is a matchup nightmare. The fact that he is not getting the ball at least 6 times a game, we're wrong.
Yeah.
We're wrong, bro.
Yeah.
How to beat LSU. Bro, keep the ball away from him. Run the ball. Get first downs and run the clock out. Get the score lead and just keep the ball away from him. They'll be sitting on the sidelines, mad, disgruntled, pissed off, and they won't have enough time to run all the plays they want to run. Mm-hmm. That's one of the keys right there to beat LSU.
Yeah. And what about who you got between what was our second thing? Who you got between thoughts on the defense, Kevin Still?
It's an attitude thing. Defense is an attitude thing. Look at Ryan Anderson. Man, I miss that guy. You know, look at Wilson. Look at the linebackers we had. It's an attitude thing.
Yeah.
It's a if you even run my way, I'm gonna take your head off. If we play like that, like Burton, people talk about Burton. I get it. Maybe I'm a glutton for chaos. I love it, and I hope it rubs off on. He kicked that guy off of him when he caught the touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. I need that. It's like, yeah, we gotta be professional. We gotta represent Bama. I get it, but bro, how amped he is, bro. If we get our D-line, if we get our defense playing like him, like Burton, and our O-line, we'll be throwing people all over the place. So you can't. So I know everyone's mad at Burton. All the shows. The fans, the one guy from Louisiana or wherever he calls in from, he's actually a good caller too. But he keeps bringing up Burton like no, bro, we need that. This is not tennis. This is not soccer, bro. We need someone amped up. If you get real amped like that, bro, you actually scare teams.
Yep.
So we need that.
I've been asking people on the show, Georgia and Florida are playing this weekend. So a prediction on that game. Everybody's landslide in Georgia. I get it. And then Oregon and Utah. You being out west, I mean, you probably have, a little bit more insight on our Pac. Maybe you could be our Pac-12 analyst. So with that, our Pac-12 analyst, Rob from Colorado, take it away.
Well, I called the USC and real quick. I was wrong on the week 2. I haven't spoken to you since week 1. I was wrong about the week 2 prediction. I thought we were going to smack Texas. Honestly, I put a lot of confidence in the Milroe. The way Milroe is now in week 7, week 8, I thought he was like that back in week 2. I thought he had worked out whatever he needed to work out, and that's why I think. And if you know, Kyle, if week 8 Milroe was playing in week 2 against Texas, we win that game. But out west, I called the USC Utah. I told my wife, we do some gambling, we do some betting, and it's real wacky. Ever since the NILs, things have been real corrupt, if you ask me. These scores, it's almost like you make a bet, and then the referee has the headset, and whatever the official, whoever Vegas has a direct headset, a walkie-talkie to the referee on the field. Slow the game down. He talks to the coach. I swear, but I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic, but it's corrupt, bro. I called that. I knew Utah was going to upset them. You said Washington goes to, I don't have the schedule in front of me. Washington goes to Utah?
No, Oregon goes to Utah.
Oh, Oregon goes to Utah. That might be an upset. I think that's an upset. I'm calling that that one as well. Georgia. Let's see. Georgia goes to Florida.
Georgia and Florida, but they're playing in Jacksonville at a neutral site game.
Oh, was it neutral site last year?
It's always neutral site. It's the world's biggest cocktail.
It's always neutral site.
Yeah, it's always the neutral. They play in Jacksonville.
Oh man, if it was in the swamp, man.
Yeah. But the line on that game is 14.5. So people expecting, Georgia to roll. Now, I'll tell you, we're looking at Georgia's schedule earlier. They play on the road at Tennessee here soon. So that could be – I could see that game being really – that Tennessee team is good.
Okay. That's the one I was looking for.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Georgia goes to Tennessee.
Yes.
Florida State goes somewhere. Because I'm watching these undefeated teams, man. And I'm going to tell you this right now, Kyle. It kind of doesn't matter what happens to Georgia, man, because we're going to beat them. We're going to please. This is what every team in college football is saying right now. Please hope to God that Bama doesn't get their stuff together. Because we've got it together on defense. If we're healthy and every week we're getting better, we're going to smack everyone because we got one of the best defenses. I would say top 3 defenses. You line up Michigan's defense, you line up Oregon's defense, and you called it. I listen to all your shows, by the way. I don't get a chance to call in. But you said it. You're going to tell me that Oregon's defense, Washington's defense, Florida State's defense, even the whole team in general, look at how many players are going to get drafted and how long they're going to play in the NFL. How many Florida State and Oregon and Washington players are in the NFL right now? Yeah, Ohio State, Bama, LSU, Georgia. We have longevity. We have starters in the NFL right now. And I hate it. They get these people in these rooms who decide who's going to be in the playoffs.
I know.
And a caller said it a few days. And it's like, bro, the eye test, you're telling me that TCU was going to be a better playoff team than Bama? Do you know when they selected TCU as number 4, do you know how many teams were like, oh, my gosh, yes? Because you don't want to see a pissed-off Bama team in there. Come on, man. We're going to hurt somebody, bro. We're going to play lights out. We're going to play like our life depends on it. So I hope they don't make the same mistake twice 2 years in a row. But, yeah, this is the last year for the 14, and we got to get in, bro.
Yeah. No,
we have to be in there.
Absolutely.
There's no way.
Yeah. All right, Rob. Well, I appreciate you ending the show, man. Call in again. I always appreciate rapping with you, man. Good luck if you do have some gambling this coming weekend. And, I'll be here every single day this week at 9 a.m. So definitely hit me up if you're out and about.
I will, and I'm a $5.99 member on your
membership.
I joined. I hit the join button.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
I might bump it up to 10. I might bump it to 10 because I want
Love it.
Because I want to support you.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, I appreciate that, Rob. Thank you very much. Rob's talking about the membership button. You can hit the join button. Rob, how did you find the join button? Did you find it on the homepage of the YouTube channel?
Oh man, it's right. It is literally right there. It is like it's right next to the subscribe button.
Thank you.
It's super easy. You hit join. It says $2.99, $4.99. And then $10.99, and there might be $9.99.
Yeah,
and there might be a higher one, but I didn't scroll.
And the $9.99, it allows me to be your alarm clock in the morning and be like me, like, hey, wake up, it's Kyle Henderson, the Bama Football on YouTube. Wake up, it's Kyle Henderson. Just kidding.
I like it.
All right, Rob, I appreciate you, man. We'll catch up with you next time.
Hey, you have a blessed day.
All right, man. See you, man. All right. Take it easy. All right, fam. If I didn't get to you today, I will get to you guys tomorrow. I'll be online tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time. Thank you very much for joining me today. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Think about becoming a member of the YouTube channel. It's a way to fan fund the YouTube channel. Hit the join button. $2.99, $4.99, I think a $9.99 option. So thank you very much for supporting me. Super chats go a long way. Thank you for the super chats today. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My name is Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Stay tuned for the Coaches Show. I'm going to replay that here at 12 p.m. Smook, Sean, and Jarek, they do such a great job on Monday Night Quarterback. Stay tuned for that and more coverage coming your way right here on Bama Football on YouTube.